Hey everyone, my name is Victoria Morales and my group, the Four Seasons, decided to do our final project on the topic of cellular dehydration. Now, cellular dehydration, put simply, is the imbalance of salt and water molecules within the human body. When we exercise or use up any kind of energy, the water levels in our cells tend to decrease, and that makes them shrink. When we don't hydrate ourselves properly, we tend to feel symptoms like dizziness, headaches, fatigue, nausea, and those are all symptoms of dehydration. When we do hydrate ourselves properly after a workout, the water levels in our cells increase, and that causes them to get back to their original shape, otherwise known as homeostasis. This phenomenon can affect people of all ages, so it's important for all of us to be informed about it. One of my tasks was to create a 3D background for our 3D animation. Now, adding a background image seemed like a simple enough task, but it really wasn't. Initially, I tried to import a picture that I had taken myself onto Blender and just with using the Blender settings, make it a background image for the whole file. Now, that worked, but then when we imported our human using Make Human, he wasn't showing up when rendered, and we didn't know why. So I researched online, and after hours of that, I realized that I actually had to create a 3D canvas, or a stage, as I like to call it, to physically put the image upon. So to do that, I created a basic cube. I deleted some of the vertices and faces so that only a bottom and back face were left. And I set up a camera directly in front of it. I changed the measurements of the camera to fit those of the cube, and I also angled it at an angle so that the cube was far enough from the camera that you could see like a large enough scene. So after that, I stretched the cube to form more of an obtuse angle. The cube initially was at a right 90-degree angle like this, and I stretched the back face so that it would be more of an obtuse angle like this. This is where the image would physically lay upon, and then this was like the floor where our human was going to be running on. After that, I added what are called loop cut and slides, which are basically cutting up the entire stage into little parts just so that the image could be fit perfectly on it. After that, I added both a material and a texture using my image onto the 3D stage, and just made sure it was straight and perfectly aligned and everything. And then lastly, I imported our Make Human and placed him right in front of the background so that he could be prepared for animation. This basically all worked for Carla's part of the animation. When she animated him and we rendered the file, the background and the human were visible and he was animated. But for some reason, Chantal's part was giving us a little bit of trouble. When we rendered her file, the background wasn't showing up, or the human wasn't showing up when we had the background on the file. So we basically had to cut that out of her segment. I'm not exactly sure why that is. I believe it's because of the camera angles. I think it has something to do with the camera. But anyway, in retrospect, I probably should have opted to create a 3D scenery using Blender modeling versus just importing an image, just to save time. But this whole challenge has taught me to take more time researching, take more time planning out every part of a project, even though you have a part that may seem like the simplest task to do. Sometimes it really isn't, so.